I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Um, I hope that you've had an excellent week. In fact, I myself recently obtained a small little furry friend. This week, this family has reached out to someone that needed to be rid of a high risk puppy. Not It's not really high risk. It's more could have a couple of health issues later. And after our big loss last year with our adorable little Jay, um, it's been quite the adventure. And this week I'm fully recovered. Well, the headaches in the evening are still a thing. Last week I had a wretched cold, and every day since then I've had a headache of an evening. I think it's just all my sinuses still a bit crazy. Okay, now that we've established the beginning. So this week we are going to discuss, has the LNP money dried up? Who is getting the boot? There's a couple people there. Bruce Lehman and his amazing links that makes it clear why justice was never served for Miss Brittany Higgins. PwC links as more emerges about a corruption link for PwC. Some LNP are having some pre-selection issues. Right at the very end, I want to talk to you about the yes vote of the referendum for the Indigenous voice to Parliament. So let's kick off the show with, has the LNP's money dried up? Turns out this might be possible. On a state level, definitely is looking quite a little bit empty. Normally the right are filled with an amazing amount of coffers, but it turns out being pretty unelectable. Means you don't have any political capital, which means that, you know, businesses aren't inclined to support your narrative. But don't fear, the LNP always manage to get some sort of level of crooked money or something somewhere. They're not exactly, you know, known for their wonderful ambitions. Okay, so the coalition fundraiser, he apparently left the country. Take a listen to this. Oh, turns out I don't have the sound on.
Last month, the Joint Committee of Public Accounts and Audit heard allegations that former Coalition Minister Stuart Robert directed Centrelink leases towards properties owned by John Margerson. So not just for context, Mr. Margerson was also a leading fundraiser for Queensland LNP. The allegations were made through Anthony Daly, who was also an employee of Synergy 360, and he provided a sworn statement to the committee under parliamentary privilege, alleging that the firm proposed a secret funnel of money to then Coalition Cabinet Minister through a separate entity. It's important to note here, Roz, that Mr. Robert and former co-owners of Synergy 360 have all categorically rejected these claims.
Now, that's a standard issued response. It doesn't mean that what they're saying is truthful, because if it comes out of an LNP's mouth or an LNP donor's mouth, there's definitely something fishy in that water.
But the committee was due to question Mr. Margerson this Friday, but it now says that it's been revealed to it by his lawyer that he's gone. He's left the country and has severed all ties with Australia. The Prime Minister was asked about this today, and he weighed in on it.
These revelations are really disturbing. And the coalition, this is a guy who was a major donor to the coalition, and there needs to be an explanation about why this fellow seems to have disappeared.
Now, that's a bit of an oddity, isn't it? Big time donor, everything's going well. Little bit of an inquiry into how we got to where we're going to. We find out Synergy 360 and a few others, PwC and a few others, have corroborated in some very dodgy dealings. So fast forward to this moment where, you know, some of them have to front up and then they're like, no, I would rather back away from this than front your Senate committee. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go overseas. Bye-bye, buddy. Never knew you. Never going to get money out of you ever again. Never ever going to give you money for political influence ever again. Huh. So this isn't looking good. There's more to this, and I've barely heard this spoken about, mind you.
Government Services Minister Bill Shorten also commented on this. He said Mr. Margerson is a key link between Synergy 360 and Mr. Stewart. Robert, he says many questions are still left unanswered, and he reckons the coalition have the responsibility to provide those answers.
And that's certainly true of that. But there's more, because turns out it's not just on that level. Liberal documents reveal election fears as donations dry up. Internal New South Wales Liberal Party documents in New South Wales have revealed that fundraising struggles, perceived dysfunction could create significant impediment to contesting a federal election competitively, with senior figures warning a falling of membership numbers may force a reduction in staff. So basically, there's a no for the very lucrative LNP. Now, that's not to say that they're broke, because these donors have an amazing ability to pop up from God knows where and giving, you know, enough money, you know, to buy a country at times, and never ever feel sorry for this is done. So you sort of go, oh, isn't it sad? A conservative group not, you know, getting enough money. It's not competitive. No, they always outspend the left. The left is always significantly less funded up. That's just a fact. You know, if we're going to, you know, call it like it is, that is how it is. Okay. So, turns out that there are a couple of people who have recently gotten the boot from parties. Not just ALP, but LNP too. So I'm not sure how many people were aware that there have been cleaning up of some cabinets. So here we go. Okay. Turns out Tim CRAKANTHORP is sacked by New South Wales Premier Chris Minns in a major breach of ministerial code of conduct. Now, what did he do? He apparently held properties and did not disclose those properties to the Premier, Chris Minns. Tim did acknowledge this. He took full responsibility. Upon Chris Minns asking for the resignation, Tim did resign. Now, that's not to say that this clears them of this, because they have managers that run this sort of thing. So it's not as if that you can go, whoops, I forgot I own this. No, they have like managers of businesses like this. They keep track of all their property stocks and all that kind of stuff. So whenever you hear a minister saying, oh, sorry, that one just fell through the cracks. No, that's BS. These things are tightly scrutinized. For instance, they get a lot of tax write-off on all these sorts of things. Shares, properties, you know, etc. You know, money earned. I mean, it's not as if they're going to forget that they own a property, particularly if it's getting a profit. So whenever you hear a politician say, Oh, that property. Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't even remember that I had it. No, that doesn't sound right. And I know a story of dodgy when I hear it. But as always, the left have more credibility and they get rid of them and they clean up this. But here's the deal. It doesn't make this acceptable. I don't want to make this sound as if, ALP are the shining light on the hill and that it's all amazing. There is corruption of this level all over politics. But it is to their credit on how they deal with it. You can never ever stop someone doing something dodgy. And you can never ever vouch for them, 100%. But when it does come up, it's dealt with swiftly like this, and then they're done. So, yeah, there is that one. But then there's another one. This one, it had me a little bit more intrigued, more than just a weird property thingy. But not as if that's not important. This one is still important. Okay, turns out David Van from the Liberal Party, senator, was booted from the party for inappropriate behaviour. Now, this one is a more serious issue. I'm not saying that you can categorise certain things, but they do have an appalling behaviour before, at women, and I think that both parties need to address even the Greens have had issues with women in their party, with bullying and etc. So it was good to see that the Liberal Party can at least acknowledge that they might have an issue with women, even if it's just quietly, because publicly you wouldn't even know that he was gone. David Van, the Liberal senator, booted from the party over allegations of inappropriate behaviour towards women, will cause a seat shuffle, and when he returns to Parliament, and 2 mentions of Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews were cut from his state anti-corruption body latest report. Okay, he's planning to return to Parliament next week, pending a doctor's approval, causing a seat shuffle in the upper house. It comes as a herald. Some reports a 4th unnamed woman. So now we're on woman number 4. So they didn't do it after 1 came forward. They didn't do it after 2 came forward. They waited until you get to the extraordinary number of 4 before they're like, this one doesn't look right. So they did what they always do, and number 4 was the magic number. The unnamed woman has alleged that Van touched her at the bottom at least 3 times on 2 separate occasions in 2018 at a Melbourne bar. So this is like, okay, Van was thrown out of the Liberals after Independent Senator Lydia Thorpe accused him of sexual assault. Miss Thorpe has come forward with a lot. Now, she should be taken seriously and meritoriously. I know that she does have controversy around her, but I don't think it's anything like what they perceive it to be. Accused him of sexual assault. And it raised the eyebrows until others, including Liberal Senator Amanda Stoker, came forward with their own stories. As the Sydney Morning Herald reported, Van denies everything and so far refused to resign from Parliament, even though opposition leader Peter Dutton and Prime Minister Anthony Albanese agrees he should go. He'll sit until he'll sit next to the United Australian Party Senator Ralph Babbitt, 2 rows back across the aisle from Thorpe. So after harassing her, he's still going to be able to go to this workplace. It's repugnant. But this is one of many incidents that you need to take as it is. It's there should be criminal charges for this, actually. I think there's way more to this, particularly with 4 women. And these are just women that we know of. We know that perpetrators like this don't just stop because they're told to, particularly with powerful women. Like, these women aren't powerless women. So imagine how many powerless women he did this to. You know, I'd say there's a lot more going to come out about that. Okay, so the next one. Bruce Lehman has managed to find himself in more headlines. Now, after the disastrous trial that should have convicted Lehman of a rape of Brittany Higgins, this to me is a tragedy. Turns out that there were some very, very well placed people behind the scenes that were making sure that justice would never ever be served. So let's take a look at that. Okay. Bombshell findings against Shane Drumgold in a leaked report. A 600-page report into the handling of the case against Bruce Lehman has been linked to the media outlet, revealing damning findings against the chief prosecutor, Shane Drumgold. Walter Shorkonoff, KC, headed the probe looking at how the justice system dealt with the rape allegations made by former Liberal Party staffer Brittany Higgins. A copy of Mr. Shorkonoff's report was handed to the ACT government. Did I do that? Just one sec. I just got something that popped up. No, I didn't. Just one sec. I got a message that I need to deal with. It's not. Didn't it get uploaded? Here we go. Okay, fixed. Okay, sorry. So Walter headed the probe into looking how the justice system dealt with the rape allegations made by the former Liberal Party staffer Brittany Higgins. A copy of Walter's report handed to the ACT government on Monday said it was not due to be made public until the end of this month. But the Australian newspaper reports that it had obtained a full copy on Wednesday night, and its take on Walter's conclusions. News Corp Masterhead said the findings against the AC Director of Public Prosecutions were damning enough for him to end his tenure. The bombshell allegations include that Mr. Drumgold lied to the Supreme Court and engaged in serious malpractice and grossly unethical conduct. It wrote that every allegation made by Mr. Drumgold that sparked the inquiry was considered baseless. As a result, the public inquiry, which was not justified by any of the allegations, that has caused pain to many people, but which has demonstrated his allegations to be not just incorrect, but wholly false and without rational basis. The cost of a 6-month public inquiry and in the time and money, lost work, and personal and professional consequences are huge. He's on leave until August 30, awaiting the report. So there is talk that there are allegations that Bruce Lehman is linked to the AFP, and there's some very credible arguments behind that. And the online warfare group that deals in the AFP was behind some of that. And I think it'll come up more and more. This one is going to be hard to not haunt us for a very long time. Turns out justice is very seen, and it will prove your guilt or innocence based upon who you're friends with. And Lehmann's case definitely is a trapping of all of that. And do not mistake how I've worded that at all. Okay. Next one, we're going to talk about PwC. Now, the LNP have a whole bunch of dodgy things that they do. This particular thing that they did is particularly odious. Why? Because PwC have shown themselves to be self-serving, corrupt, and they use government documents to boost their bottom line and not legally. So let's have a look at what that entails and why the AFP shouldn't be heading the investigation into PwC. Turns out that the AFP Commissioner, Reece Kershaw, rubbishes suggestions he should have declared friendship with PwC partner over contract. But what does that look like? This is what it looks like when you do something this stupid. This is exactly what ties we are discussing. Okay.
Anything about your relationship with PwC that you haven't told us?
Thank you, Senator. I assume you are talking about the fact that I was employed by PwC 14 years ago.
For how long were you employed by PwC?
About 13, 14 years.
And what was your role with PwC?
Also, I started as an undergraduate, so I had various roles in PwC and I finished there as a director.
Anything about your relationship with PwC that you haven't told us?
So, this is the Chief Operating Officer of the Australian Federal Police. Is a previous PwC employee, but it's not just her. Check this out. Reece Kershaw did the exact same thing. I meant to show that one afterwards and I didn't. I did them in the wrong sequence. Check out this one. After claiming he cannot recall meetings with PwC partner Mick Fuller, the AFP Commissioner, Reece Kershaw, insists he doesn't socialise with Fuller, not even for a beer. Only for Shoebridge to stump Kershaw with a text message where Fuller suggests catching up for a beer. These people are bad. The AFP has been compromised. Now, they can't say when they work with a contract company like this and then they go over to the AFP and that they should be equally investigating this same company like this is all on the up and up, that they do so, given their links to this particular company. See, it doesn't look good. This is corruption at its finest. It needs to be handled by another agency with no links to this.
What did you chat with Mr. Fuller about before that meeting?
To be honest, Senator, I cannot recall.
Now, hold on. Now, watch his behaviour once he is caught after the "I cannot recall" speech. It gets a little bit heated.
Exactly. And there's a lot here, as you'd
look at his demeanour. He's angry that he's had to make this testimony. He's angry that he's been that. The thing is, these questioners already have the receipts. He's stupid enough as a AFP person to be fully aware that they already have the receipts. Dude, if you're a cop and they're asking you something prior to that meeting, it means they already know. They just need you to say yes or no. This idiot, like a true dunce, walks in there and then goes, I'm agitated about these sorts of questions. His body language screams it, but then what he does next is extraordinary. He gets called for it.
Appreciate. So I'd have to take that on notice, go back through all my records and understand those dates. And yeah, I'll take that on notice.
You spoke about what was in front of you, didn't you? You spoke about the contract that was being proposed between PwC and the AFP.
Between PwC and the AFP, right? So that there is a very tenuous link. And then to know PwC has acted in the way it has. You see, this isn't looking good already. What a web that they've woven on this one.
You spoke about what was directly in front of you at that time. That's what the chat was about, wasn't it?
I'll take that on notice.
Did you record the chat?
I'll take that on notice, Senator.
You said before that you don't play golf or socially catch up with Mick Fuller, is that right?
Yes.
You don't arrange to catch up for a beer or anything like that?
Watch how amazing this is. This is art at its finest. This is what a prosecutor does. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if this Green senator at one time or another has dealt with law or been a prosecutor, because the sheer look, he's not even like giving a hint away of what he knows. And this is what true questioning looks like. I'm impressed every second.
No.
Yeah. I'll show you another bunch of documents. And this is you texting Mr. Fuller saying, well done and thanks, mate. Do you see that?
Yes.
What was that about? Do you remember?
Don't know. I'd have to go back over time.
You don't remember what you were congratulating Mr. Fuller for?
No. I know I congratulated him down the few days later about his AO, his awarding of the honours.
And then he came back to you and he said, hopefully when over, we can have a beer. Do you say
That's
that?
him saying that, yes.
Yeah. You say you don't have a relationship where you catch up for a beer?
Didn't have a beer with him.
You don't have that kind of relationship where you catch up for a beer?
I didn't have a beer with him in 2023, is it?
But it's...
Yeah, that doesn't look real good when you're like, no, we've got to catch up for a beer. These people don't realise how bad this is. Like, even a prima facie case, right, where you've got something that appears bad, right? You're already in tenuous trouble by being linked to these people. I'm going to get there. So the link is already dodgy. Then a corruption hearing starts to surface. And then you find out that former PwC employees now directly work for the AFP. Now, who should be told to look into the PwC corruption claims? The AFP. They have not stood down. They haven't said that that they should pass it on to another intelligence agency that deals with this sort of thing. No, the AFP fully thinks, after having the director of the AFP and the former commissioner and the commissioner of the AFP linked to PwC, that they should just steam ahead and investigate anyway. Yeah, I'm not a big cynic, but even the best of us would have to go, no, that doesn't quite look kosher, does it? I would like to say I'm surprised, but sweetie, you got to get to this sort of point where you realise this is not going well. And as corrupt as this look, it's got to be way worse. This is like just what you can see. As always, with the way that the LNP operates in handing out these sorts of contracts, it's always grimy and underhanded, and I need to know how big this net needs to be cast to make a legitimate inquiry into all of it. I think there's more to this story. Okay, so for our final story, this, thanks to Tanya Plesbeck, did I come across. Turns out that the Liberals are having pre-selection issues. And dear Tanya did this. Oh, I should pull it up and show you what Tanya did to cast her ire onto this. Okay, so here's what she did. Oh, I will show you this first. I think that you're going to love this because what she does here is brilliant. So it turns out that the LNP are having pre-selections, which isn't unusual, but what would make that unusual? When it doesn't get reported on publicly that there's any issue at all. Here's Kata in the, look at the, they're so animated as a group, like Bob Kata always looking like a crazy person. Then you've got like this moment here where half of them are actually reading something of consequence. You got the ones that are paying attention. And then here's this. Peter Dutton's reading something. Barnaby's on his phone. God knows what's happening here. You've got the person that records all of this. And then from here on, you're like, they've all lost a bit of interest. You got it. This lot here have all lost a bit of interest. They're not even going to attempt to engage in any of it. So Tanya Plesbeck brought this to my attention. I did not know that the LNP were having pre-selection issues, but she did. And this should have made national news, and it didn't. Listen to this classic gotcha moment.
As I've said to him before, given that this is currently before me as a decision maker, I'm not able to comment.
The minister can, if you completed your answer.
No, I thought you were drawing them.
No, I was saying the minister and the member for Fairfax can cease their interjections. My apologies.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. I thought you were asking me to take a seat while you quietened them down. Mr. Speaker,
Order.
I want to say to the member for Kennedy, as I have said to him before, I can't comment on individual projects. I make these two general sets of comments. Queensland can absolutely
Leader of the Opposition,
a censor.
The Deputy Leader of the Opposition knows that is inappropriate. Will cease interjecting or will be warned.
How's your pre-selection going?
That there.
As I said to him before.
That there. This shows you they're in trouble. You know there. It's gonna come up that turns out a couple of Liberals, diehard Liberals, are going to be axed. But what I found interesting is how they're going about it. This one has a very interesting tale. I know you're going to like this. So it turns out Alex Hawke and Susan Lee are having pre-selection issues. But this is the one for Susan Lee is controversial. So the challengers must pass an internal Liberal candidate vetting process before the pre-selection voting, which is expected in late October. Before 2022, Hawke and Lee were challenged, but then said by a federal intervention by the New South Wales Division, triggered by Hawke, alleged the failure to attend the nomination review committee meetings. His absence delayed the pre-selection process. Okay, which included Morrison and Premier Dominic Perrott weeks before the election. Morrison defended the interjection, and protected Lee, and helped other women out apparently. But no, that's not really why he did it. He did it because they were too far in. So there was more to this. Hold on. Where's the part that I found? There was more to this. What's her name? Oh, it's not. In another challenge, McIntosh faces pre-selection battle with with Penrith councillor Mark Davies, the husband of hardline anti-abortion MP Tanya Davies. This is the part that I love. Lee is being challenged by Jean Haynes, a Conservative who quit the Liberal state party to consort to the New South Wales regional seat of Farrer. But apparently they're trying to get rid of this Jane Haynes. They have been trying to expel her from the party with no explanation of any scandal or why. This one has me rattled. So I am going to have to do a follow-up on Jane, because I have done some standard backgrounding and that appeared with nothing. But I do have some people looking into her, and they, after nearly 4 days of hardcore looking around, we haven't found anything that should get her expelled from the party, other than that she's going for the seat of Farrer against Susan Lee. But this isn't new. Remember, Scott Morrison did a very similar thing to the person who won the pre-selection there. So this isn't a new tactic. It's just a revamp of that. And they will sledge and do whatever they need to do to win. They are a brutal party. The truth doesn't matter, just how they do things. This is just who they are. Okay. I want to thank everyone for making their time, their precious time available to me tonight. If you are watching this on replay, please press the like button, hit subscribe, and share this around. The more people who hear it, the better. I want to thank everyone for watching. I've appreciated each and every one of you. Thank you, guys. Good night. See you next week.